to the Chadeauxs, where I hope you find peace in the dark. These videos are handpicked week by week, and if you find yourself enjoying the content, make sure to bring your flashlight and leave a like, because it's always dark in the Chadeauxs. Without further ado, let's get into it. I've always been interested in psychology, particularly its research aspect. The human mind's ability to make a person aware of the world around them and their experiences, to make them think and feel, to make them do specific actions when they want to or even when they don't, has always fascinated me. Without our thoughts, emotions, and behavior, we simply survive. But our mind enables us to thrive, allowing us to grow, develop, and prosper. Ever since I was 13, I've been constantly trying to gather more knowledge about psychology, buying psych books with my own pocket money, reading in libraries, joining the psychology club in high school, and so on. Naturally, it wasn't a surprise when I decided to pursue psychology as a career. When I was in university, during my last semester of my bachelor's in neuropsychology, I tried my best to volunteer in research programs to gain more experience, as well as some extra credit. Dr. Laurier was one of my professors at the time, and he was working on some programs in which the students were allowed to participate. I decided to step forward and volunteer, and I was quickly filled in on the details. Experiments were being held to study if Chromesthesia can be deliberately developed. Some harmless tests would be done on us. The observations would be recorded, and then we'd get some extra credits as well as experience on how they were done. Well, all of it seemed exciting, so I agreed. For those of you who don't know, Chromesthesia is a type of synesthesia. It's a condition where sound involuntarily causes an individual to perceive color. It's not a disease or a disorder, it's simply a trait, which, to be honest, is quite cool. I'm sure some of you would agree. I was asked to fill out some forms with personal details such as age, weight, height, medical records, and other related stuff before experiments went on, and I had to sign some documents agreeing to the tests, which I did sign after reading thoroughly. All of the procedures mentioned seemed harmless. I'd be made to listen to different songs each day with subliminal message layered underneath, or even given microdoses of LSD, THC, psilocybin, and so on. I'd be asked to perform daily brain exercises or undergo hypnosis sessions. Basically, harmless fun, you know? These procedures would be done daily for 2 months. Then the observations would be recorded at the end. I'd get paid with extra credit and a good amount of cash, and hopefully a cool new trait if the experiment did work. On the first day, I was asked to show up at the research facility in the evening. I arrived on time and was taken to a room with a few other participants. All of us were made to sit in a chair and given a pair of headphones and were instructed to put them on. I obliged, and the headphones started playing some music. We were asked to concentrate fully on the music and were given some water to drink. After exactly 1.5 hours, the headphones were removed and we were taken to another room to perform some brain exercises. That day, we were asked to attempt a Stroop, collar, and word test. Nothing fancy, really, and all of us were done within and around 5 minutes. Then we were allowed to go back home. You see, this went on for roughly 9 whole weeks. I'd report to the research lab every evening, spend around 2 hours there, and go back and spend the rest of my night normally. I was even given microdoses of drugs, eventually, obviously, and made to listen to music every alternate day. Hypnosis sessions were held every 3 days, and I had to perform brain exercises every day. They got progressively harder, and they were all related to color and word association. There were minimal side effects, except for occasional mild headache that came with the hypnosis session. The microdoses of drugs improved my mood, focus, and performance, not only in my studies, but also the gym. And soon enough, it started working. 2 weeks into the experiments, I was able to visualize a new color each time a song played, and in every single session, there was a brand new playlist with completely new songs which I'd never heard before. A few seconds into each song, a new color would pop into my mind. The colors just came naturally. Rock songs looked oxblood, pop looked seafoam, and country was spruce blue. But, surprisingly, blues songs weren't any shade of blue. They were a beige. And gradually, I started visualizing colors with different words that were read out. For example, love was a shade of blood orange. Different people's voices were different colors. My girlfriend Aria's voice was coral, my mom's was a sage, and my dad's was a frost white. I spent a lot of time researching colors and their shades to pinpoint the exact hues that I was able to perceive now, to further explain to my evaluators. All of these abilities did not occur overnight, obviously, but by the end of the 9 weeks, I was able to visualize the world with a new perspective. It did take some time to get used to my newly acquainted skills, but within a few months I was all set to go. At the end of the research program, I was given my well-deserved extra credit and cash. What went on behind the scenes was quite transparent, and I could also see how all of it worked. However, before this research could have been officially published, Mr. Laurier had a car accident and passed away. I was quite upset about it, but I did eventually move on, as we all do. I started my master's program soon after the years, and they quickly went by. Currently, I'm doing my PhD in the neurological field. My life has been going pretty smoothly. I recently got engaged to Aria, and I've been conducting my own research on synesthesia. However, 9 months back, something strange happened. I'd gone to visit my childhood friend, Luca, for his housewarming party. Usually, whenever I heard Luca's voice, I saw a bright, shiny copper. But this time, I couldn't talk to him without feeling uneasy, because this time I saw something very different. I saw a color which was very hard to describe. It was like trying to look at something right behind you without turning your head, like trying to look at something without your eyes, with the back of your head instead. It was what a blind person would see, or what a dead person would see, if only they could. It wasn't black, but far from it. It was something beyond the color spectrum visible to humans. It was there, but it wasn't there at the same time. It was a color, however, but it was also nothing at all. Simply trying to comprehend it made me get a headache, so I tried my best to leave early. I thought it was strange, but I decided I was just stressed out and tried going to bed. The next morning, I felt fine and things went back to normal rather quickly. Exactly a week later, Luca died from a heart attack. Now, he's always had a weak heart. I was heartbroken. We'd been friends for 20 years, and losing him was very painful. After his death, I got diagnosed with depression. The pain was too painful to handle. 6 months had passed. I went to meet my great Aunt Dorothy, who lived a few towns away. She was the ripe age of 82. Whenever I talked to her previously, I always saw claret, but this time I saw the color of nothingness, death once again. This time I started feeling dizzy and anxious. This sudden color shift was always a bad omen. I tried to get away from her as soon as possible, afraid of hurting her even more. As usual, exactly a week later, she had passed. Her cause of death was attributed to old age, but I knew better. It was my fault, and it made me even more depressed. It took a lot of courage, but I did eventually learn to live with it. Talking it out with my therapist helped. She was understanding even though I wasn't sure if she'd ever believe me. I accepted this as a part of me, and I learned to cope with it. I learned to stop blaming myself. I learned to view myself not as the perpetrator, but as a witness to Luca's and Great Aunt Dorothy's deaths. I moved on with my life, but thinking about it, death feels like salt to an open wound. I still haven't healed completely, not yet. Whenever I see that color when talking to someone, I realize that they're not far from death, and I try to be extra kind to them. I've seen this color while talking to chance acquaintances, neighbors, co-workers, and all kinds of people. As far as I've been able to find out, all of them die in exactly a week. Well, something happened yesterday which has made me scared shitless. I and Arya were out together to the park to walk our dog Milo. Arya recorded a video of me playing with Milo. A smile plastered on my face. I genuinely felt happy after months. Imagine my future with Arya was pure bliss, and knowing that we were going to get married soon maybe made me giggle like a schoolgirl, I guess you could say. Arya sent me the video last night, and I clicked play. I saw myself. I was standing at one end of the empty park with Milo at the other. I flung a frisbee toward him, shouting, "Milo, catch!" What happened next made a shiver go down my spine, and I immediately clicked on the pause button. What happened next was when I heard my voice, I saw that color, the familiar nothingness. I've heard my voice in recordings before, and back then I always saw mulberry purple. Back then, I was quite dissatisfied with it. I felt like that color just didn't resonate with me. But now, I'd be happy with that color. Well, any color except for the color of death. So I ask of you, all, how should I spend the last 7 days of my life before whatever happens? So far, everybody that I've seen that color in has died in a different way. I don't know how I'm going to go out, but I'm sure I'm going to. So please, let me know down below. How should I spend my 7 days? Anyway, if you liked tonight's video, please feel free, drop a like, leave a comment. It truly helps out the channel. It helps others get lost in the shadows as well, just as you have. And never forget to bring a flashlight. It's always dark. Have a good night.